as we kick off another episode of the New Design for Living, reimagining how we live, love, and treat each other. My name is Camille Conte, and I want to welcome into the studio the one, the only, Blaze Bell.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, it is so exciting to see you and be here with you and have you on the show today. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. And I love that song. Don't you love the words to it?
So good.
It's one of my favorites.
I mean, it picks up, as the song goes on, I feel like you feel more and more power and empowered by it.
Exactly.
And it could just be because she keeps saying those important words, I choose.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. If we are always blaming other people for where we are in our life, that leaves us powerless. We have to take responsibility, choose who we want to be, where we want to go, what we're doing. So anyway, I love that song so much.
I mean, I know her as an artist, but I'm not familiar with all of her songs, including that one. But now I realize, I need to go and hang out with her a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much.
She's pretty awesome. That is for sure. Blaze and I are going to get into a couple of different things today, including our most recent collaboration, Women Gathering. But I just want to share a little bit of her notable moments as it relates to her incredible service to our community and some of her more outstanding achievements in a very short amount of time. Top 40 under 40 honoree 2022, commissioner on the Alaska Criminal Justice Commission. You have been the vice chair on the Council on Domestic Violence. You've been a part of Victims for Justice. You've been the recipient of the 2019 First Lady Volunteer of Alaska Award. You're a certified holistic health coach. You're the co-creator of Radiance, a self-love course, which is just so wonderful to read, feel, and hear. Press Picks first place winner of Best Singer in Alaska. I mean, who doesn't miss the press, right?
I know.
What a great...
That one's dating me, but we miss them.
And Press Picks second place winner, Best Podcast. And, that's just really the tip of the iceberg. So it's just a real thrill to be with you today. Blaze and
Thanks.
I came to cross paths, though we've known each other peripherally. I employed Blaze's services as a social media manager to help me with some work I was trying to launch, but definitely needed help with. And so began our collaboration. And over the course of our time together, I had been inspired to relaunch Women Gathering and shared the idea with her to see if she might be interested in collaborating, because that is the word of the day. In the old design model, we worked mostly on our own. In the new design model, we are all about collaboration. And one thing has led to another. And like I say, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. One of the things I saw on your website that I would like to start with is you say that you're passionate about creating connections and helping people share their stories with the world. Why is that a passion for you?
I mean, I think that, one of my biggest missions is for people to not feel alone. And I know through my own life, through going through trauma and healing, there were so many times when I felt alone in that journey. And I kind of wished more people were sharing what they were going through. And, we're all humans. We're all experiencing so much and so many similar things. So for me, it has been very empowering to share my story, whether that's one-on-one with a mentor or on stage in front of a bunch of people or on a podcast or online. I just think it's really powerful and can help so many other people. So, yeah, I like to create spaces where people get to share who they are, what they're doing, what they're offering the world, and be there for them.
That's beautiful. And I would imagine people respond to that in a way of gratitude, just to know that somebody's creating that kind of space for them.
Sure, yeah.
That's not something we normally feel. And it's beautiful to hear that be a part of the business world as well.
Yeah.
Just being said the way you said that, that's really beautiful. This month, inside our women's gathering, we're going to talk about the courage to be me. That's the theme. And that's kind of led me into this topic with you, because we have been talking quite a bit about this. Authentic living and having the courage and finding the courage to be our authentic self as women in the world. And I just want to start there with you. What comes up for you when you think about living your authentic life and being an authentic version of yourself?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a big question, but a good one. I think for me, like living my authentic life is giving myself permission to change is the first thing that comes to mind. I feel like sometimes we get so stuck thinking, oh my gosh, I have this identity, or people think of me as this person, or XYZ, or my parents said I should do blah, blah, blah. And that can really change. And so for me, it's been a real journey of like a metamorphosis, of going from one phase of life to another, one version of life to another, and really being accepting of that and gentle with myself through changes, because change can be very uncomfortable. But being okay with like having the courage to go, no, that identity isn't me anymore. And I need to move forward for my own growth and joy, even if maybe that leaves some other things behind, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And did you have to first go through resistance before you got to that level of understanding and acceptance?
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. And I think sometimes we change because we have to, we're pushed into it, or things get so painful. It used to be I would change when I was just in utter pain and misery. I try not to go there. I try not to let it go that far, now when it's like I can feel those gut urges or, that just, it's time. It's time to shift.
And that's what you've just done. You took a massive leap of faith, one I can relate to. You left the matrix of a full-time job and have stepped onto the high wire of self-employment and the life of an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you've used your social media platforms to kind of chronicle this journey. So I want to talk about that because, and pull back the curtain too on the emotional roller coaster that you have to be willing to ride when you step away from the status quo and believe in yourself that deeply that you're going to embark on this kind of a journey. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, it is exciting, and you've been a huge encouragement in this process as well. So thank you for that. For those of you that don't know Camille, she's the best. So you've really been supportive. And I think some of us just have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I have since I was little. I had my first business when I was probably 7 years old. Kick the Ball Books publishing company.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And I would write these stories, and I had a little kid down the street who I would hire to be the illustrator because I didn't like to draw. And so I would get like my mom's coworkers to pay $5 for a book. I would give the kid down the street like $1.
At 7.
Yeah. And there have been many iterations of that throughout my life. So I know that I just am that way. It's just like, what can I create? And how can we just always have this circular value exchange? And money happens to be the thing that the tool we're all using right now. So, so I find it fun to create things. And I've been a part-time entrepreneur before. I was a singer for 15 years. As my main job, and also doing coaching and getting to explore, but again, in a much more part-time way. So today, I'm about 1 month into my first time of really leaping into full-time entrepreneur. And it's been just in 1 month, I've been all over the place emotionally, which I was not really expecting.
Right. Well, that's why they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, right.
Because if we knew what we would go through, we might not do it, or we might wait longer before we do it. It's kind of like when I drove across the country. I literally had no idea what I was doing and what I said yes to. I just knew what it was feeling like. And so I embarked on that journey. And then by the time I got to Boise and I realized what I was doing, I literally invented a train that didn't exist to take my car all the way across the country to New Jersey because I was so freaked out about what I now was realizing. But, the baby was already crowning, so I had to keep going, and there was no train after all. So that's a good thing that you didn't know. I do feel that way.
Yeah.
Right, and I know you know what I'm trying to get at here.
Sure.
What what was going on that you can see now that made it be the time to make this leap?
Oh, it was just a very strong knowing, but it wasn't impulsive at the same time. I do tend to leap early a lot of times. I have always been that way, kind of a ready, fire, aim, start before you're ready. I do not wait for things to be perfect because I know then I'll never do anything. So I've been through a lot, and I've had courage in a lot of things that were a lot scarier than what kind of job I'm going to have. And I have support, I have family, so there are certain things where the risk felt measured and doable while still being scary, but not life-threatening scary,
Right.
I forgot your original question, but
I was asking, what was it now that caused you to take the leap? You were saying that it was more of a gut sense of its time.
Right. And also, I have been moving into this new phase of my life where I really want joy to be at the center and joy to be my justice. And a lot of people knew me from the world of really being a survivor speaker, working with a lot of companies with domestic violence and SA, and really heavy work, and kind of being the poster child for that. And it was coming to a point where I felt like all of the worst parts of my life were now my identity, were now my work, and it was starting to feel horrible when it used to feel very empowering. And so for me, part of it too is I was working full-time for a company that dealt with addiction, and another part of my past that just doesn't feel like my present or my future. And so for me, it also was, it's just time for me to have some more fun in my life and go into a phase where I'm not thinking about my past and talking about it all the time. Instead, I'm creating a future and just really enjoying myself and trying to create a structure where my life is about my kids and about my energy and having fun. I feel like I haven't had enough fun.
Yes, I can
and I don't want to miss out on that.
Yes, and I do appreciate you sharing this identity piece because, again, in the new design model, we embrace the new design of ourselves. And we, definitely understand how identities, roles, and titles can trap us and can keep us in a version of ourselves that we've long left, oftentimes for the purpose of other people, either being in service to them or people pleasing or whatever all of that becomes. So I want to really acknowledge your, not just your self-awareness that you're no longer that version of you, but that you were willing to step out of the skin of that and step into a new skin that better matches who you are today. And as you say, what you want your future to be all about, which is this resonance and frequency of joy, which is beautiful, which is beautiful. And did you have any interesting reaction to the outside world at any part of this release of who you used to be to step into a new version of yourself?
Not yet. Maybe can people call in? What are you doing, Blaze?
907-222-1061 is the phone number. But this is important because I, as you and I know, and we've talked about this, people are going through this and women are going through this big time. And we've encountered spontaneously a lot of women lately that are all saying the same thing. And we all feel similar feelings these days about the state of the world and the rise of women and our power and our authenticity as the answer, as the solution, as the medicine for this rebuild that we're in. Because I do really believe that when one person makes a choice, when they say, I choose, and forges ahead, the ripple effect of that is undeniable. It's really, so, thank you on behalf of myself and other entrepreneurs for taking that leap and talking about it today, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs in Anchorage. We have a lot, and you yourself more than I know about all the startups and people who are involved in startups and businesses where they are stepping into their own work in the world.
Yeah.
Talk more about what you think it takes to prepare yourself for the entrepreneurial life. Maybe somebody's listening and they too are part-time, but they're ready. What might you share with us that are helpful markers to make that leap a good one?
Sure. The first thing I think of is finding a mentor. I mean, we only know what we know. I think it's incredibly important to find a mentor, whether, for whatever kind of business you have. Carrie Jean Shepherd is with a business group here in town, and she also has done like startup and all these things, but she's an amazing business coach here in Alaska, specifically, typically for women. And she's been extremely helpful, but I'm just a big mentor person in general, my whole life. And we have to be really careful of who we're taking advice from. If somebody doesn't have what you want, you should not be taking advice from them. And that can be harsh because that can be family members and friends who are all saying, oh, no, what are you going to do? Like, don't do it. You should. But maybe they're living a life you have no interest in living. So take what they say with a grain of salt. Find someone who's living the life you want to live, even if they're just a few steps ahead, and reach out. Hi, will you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think mentorship is big to get more ideas than the ones you have. Again, it would kind of depend on what exactly people want to do, but I've already explored so many things in my adulthood. I think it's also important to find something you're passionate about and see how you can incorporate that into your business so that it doesn't get stale or boring, so that you feel excited to wake up in the morning and dive into this work, because it's really not easy. That's what I've been finding is like, you can, when you're working for someone else, you can take a day off. You've got PTO. You've got, you can be feeling a little down and maybe do the bare minimum for the day and still make the same amount of money. It's just completely different. When you're working for yourself, I have to wake up every day and motivate myself, create structures and systems so that I don't get lost and distracted, and also just trying to narrow down on what to do each day when it's kind of limitless, which was what I wanted. I didn't want anyone telling me what to do. I wanted to feel limitless. And once that hit, it was very disconcerting and confusing. And I was like, oh my gosh,
what the hell was I thinking?
Someone actually, can someone tell me what to do? So it takes, I'd say stick with it though. Like give yourself, 90 days or whatever to get through those emotions without giving up.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's big. Right now, I'm about 40 days in, and I'm like, okay, we're just going to keep marching forward. I make sure every day I'm taking actions that are leading me forward, no matter how I feel.
Yes.
I really have to put my emotions to the side and have systems that will keep me moving forward no matter what.
It's an infrastructure.
Yeah.
And when you leave a job, you really realize all of these things that you're talking about. And yes, to the whole mentorship thing. And ultimately, as with anything, you have to experience it. You have to be in the real-time, moment-to-moment experience of it and be able to make adjustments accordingly, right? And to use the feedback of your emotions to support yourself, but not be guided by them. I mean, it's one thing to have a hit and an intuitive, like, gut feeling of something that's guiding your decision-making or whatnot. However, fear, which certainly gets activated big time when you, at least for me, it did when I left the world to do my own thing. And you have to, as you say, have structures and systems, I think, not just for the outward life that you're trying to create, but also for the inner life that's really threatened by it.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a feeling of, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a big ego side of us that's trying to protect us at all times. So when we really go off the rails, our system, like my nervous system has felt very dysregulated. What are we doing? So
exactly.
But I also want to say, I think celebrating your small wins is also super important in the beginning. How about forever? But even just the smallest things at first, and maybe having someone else on the same path to celebrate with, who understands and who's going through similar things, and just kind of savoring the moments that feel good. Because I will say, since starting this, I was in Portland for a week, I was in Mexico for a week, and I had my laptop and I had Wi-Fi, and I was working and getting new clients and, doing social media work. And I took a lot of moments to just stop and go like, oh my God, like this is my dream. I can truly remember 10 years ago going, oh, I just wish that all I needed was Wi-Fi and a dream and like be my own boss. And it's been happening, and being able to travel and continue the work I love has been really, really cool.
Blaise Bell is my guest today. We're talking about authentic living. We're talking about entrepreneurial living, and we're about to talk about our special collaboration that we're doing together. 907-222-1061 is the number if you're an entrepreneur yourself, part-time, full-time, or have any thoughts and comments about what we're talking about. Please chime in. One thing you just also said about feedback from those who may love us but may not be representing the life that we're living. One of the things I learned is the real profile of an employee, which most of us are, versus someone who's self-employed. It is a completely different mindset with oftentimes different values. Neither wrong, just different. And so what I learned is people who did not have that entrepreneurial mindset or understanding could only speak from their mindset, which was one of safety and security and good job and, concern and, don't want you to be disappointed by anything that doesn't happen, right? Because you're outside of what you were trained to, or I was trained to embrace. And I think about the great visionary Ernest Holmes, who inspired me deeply on my spiritual path. And he talked about the importance of keeping things in your heart and being mindful of not diluting the strength and the beginningness of it by talking about it too soon.
Oh, yeah.
That if you talk about it too soon or share too much too soon, you dilute that initial time of germination, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Do you find that to be true for you too?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely experienced the opposite. So there are times when I am very careful about who I share new things with because I've experienced sharing new things with great enthusiasm just to be told, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And just like the maybe reality for them, but for me was a real dream crusher.
Exactly.
And maybe they were right, but I like to hold on to that excitement. So I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, because I haven't thought about it a lot.
Yeah, and the other thing too is we do have our doubts.
Sure.
We just try to keep them in the back seat of the car, right? Instead of, trying to grab the steering wheel from us. And so I have found that when people speak like that, which from their paradigm is appropriate speak, it activates any doubt or second guessing, which I think is a very cruel thing to do to oneself. That may be, looking for some proof in the outer world. Right. So quickly it'll be like, you see, I told you.
And then that might lead you to give up where there actually could have been a way to look at what they said and go, well, those things don't apply. Actually, this one, I'm glad you brought it up. I really should readjust, maybe pivot something so that I don't have to worry about X, Y, Z and keep moving forward, So yeah, I feel you.
You've got 2 podcasts right now.
Yes.
Pieces to Peaceful.
Yeah, From Pieces to Peaceful is one that I started in 2020, and I just relaunched it this year, but it's all about healing tools, and it's an interview style podcast, so I interview people from all over the world who have some sort of journey of overcoming challenges and get to hear about their life.
That's the template for most movies, right? The overcoming.
Yeah.
And so you just can never hear enough stories of people overcoming.
I think so.
I think it's just one of the most inspirational components because oftentimes we see ourselves in people when they share. And so that's a wonderful podcast that you've got. And then you have another one where you're collaborating.
Yes. So I've got What's Up Alaska, and that is with the hilarious food vlogger Justin Eats, Justin Williams. He's so much fun. So he and I co-host a show about Alaskans. And so it's also an interview style show, again, spotlighting other people's stories. And this one's specific to Alaskans who are doing cool things.
The other thing I've noticed that you're launching, and those podcasts are on all the typical podcast platforms?
Yes, they are. Yes.
I also saw that you were launching, I don't know if it's still in a beta testing, but you have launched some consulting and counseling support.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so I do empowerment coaching, and so I became a certified life coach and health coach 10 years ago. And so I've been doing one-on-one coaching off and on over the years. And so, yeah, just a few months ago, I relaunched some of that coaching. So I've got a 3-month program. Specifically, I mostly work with women who are ready to take that next step in their life and looking for that support. And like I said, I love a mentor, so I love to be one as well. And give accountability, support, be a cheerleader, give tons of healing resources. And I know what it's like to go through those times alone, and it makes a huge difference to have someone in your corner.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way, though we weren't in a counseling relationship, but just having you come into my experience for the social media component, because I have had some challenges with embracing all that is necessary to be a part of the social media platforms as an entrepreneur myself. And at the time, I had launched a T-shirt company called The Empowered Woman's Closet, and you came on the scene, and it was really wonderful. It was, this is like my testimony to being supported by another woman and having a mentor and somebody who sees you and sees what you're trying to do and has some additional skills that can help you get some plates spinning that maybe on your own, you can't do because social media can be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
I mean, when they added Substack to the list, I was like, oh, for the love of God, I just don't even know. You just end up kind of feeling a little paralyzed by it. I'm trying to, like you said earlier, have more fun with it because I'm not really having any fun at all with it. I see it as as this other thing that I've got to do. I've got to post and got to get engagement, and I'm just like, you know what, that has got to stop.
No, it can be so overwhelming. It's like, and yeah, like you said, then every day there's a new podcast, a new platform, a new algorithm. It's like, don't worry, there's just 12 platforms now. Post on them all 3 times a day. What?
Yeah, and then you got to buy the service that allows you to, post simultaneous at the same time. And I'm just going, oh wow, I better go for a walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about women and women gatherings. So this is something I did a couple of decades ago with my dear friend Christina, and we did it in my home for about 10 years or something like that. And we did it on the Monday closest to the full moon, and we just gathered. We, usually had some food, and we talked about, whatever we talk about. And lately I was feeling into the need to connect with women and to create a space for women to gather. And started doing a little research and just remembering, oh yeah, we've been doing this for thousands of years. Women circle up around the campfire or, wherever they are, whether they're at the river bend or sewing or knitting or at,
Yeah.
And so you graciously embraced this collaboration, and we've been trying it out now this will be our 3rd month where we gather on the Wednesday right now closest to the new moon. But I would like to hear you share a little bit about, why you maybe said yes to that and what's been your experience since saying yes.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I have been a big fan of yours from afar. I've heard you speak over the years, and your passion is very contagious. And so it's been really exciting for me to work with you one-on-one and have more time. I feel like it's a real honor anytime I get to be like in your presence.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. So, for you to want to collaborate with me on something was really cool. So, and also what you wanted to create for the number one thing was something I would want to attend, so
okay.
Like, yes, please. I would go to that and I would love it. And that's how I've actually felt at our last 2 gatherings. There have been so many moments during them that I'm like, if I wasn't co-leading this, I would definitely be here and be really excited to come every month. So
why?
Because of how good it feels and how it's like a unique experience to be, I guess, like the self-care as a mom and a woman, to take an hour or 2 that's only about me and the other women in that room. Also, I think you're such a great guide. So even when you're doing kind of a guided grounding meditation for everyone, like that alone feels incredibly good to me. But there's so many elements of what we're creating that feel impactful while also feeling relaxing and restorative. And I also don't get out much, to be honest. Like I don't have a bunch of girlfriends, and I get to feel like I do for those 2 hours because everyone's being so vulnerable, and it just feels very real. And I feel like I just get to have a strong connection to other women in our community, which I don't often have. So,
and I feel that was a shared experience by the women that have come so far, where they have said some similar things, either in their sharing or when we were, just having some tea together, that something magical does happen when we circle up. And maybe it's even true for men's group when they do that as well. Maybe it's something about the circle that's just powerful and, magical, because that first night that we did it, the vulnerability that was immediately established. I know for you and I, we were like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was moving,
It was.
And it was just a powerful experience, and also a reminder of how much we yearn this.
Yeah.
How much we yearn to be seen, to be heard, and connection. Because in the old design model, it does go out of its way to pit women against each other.
Sure.
And as a patriarchal model, we understand that it does that because it knows that when women collaborate and we step out of that which we've been told to be mindful of with another woman, something incredible happens. Like our power becomes amplified. We dream bigger. We have support and solutions in ways that we never had before. And so I like that the circle is just helping to break that down, each and every month. Hi there, you're on the air. This is KONR.
Hello, this is Dawn, and I didn't realize. I thought I would go through someone to monitor, but I happened to come up, turn it on, and it was like, oh my gosh, these are two ladies that just, my heart goes boom when I hear you talking, and just the dynamic between the two of you and what I've witnessed over the years with each of you, sometimes from the outside and the inside. You ladies are just incredible, and you are helping to just really explode something in my heart and in my life right now that just way to go.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. Oh my gosh, it's so good to hear your voice.
So good to hear your voice. Well, you know a little bit about stepping out on faith and living authentically and, embracing, our dreams that may be outside of our everyday jobs. Anything you want to share about your own experience based on what you've been hearing?
One thing comes to mind is how recently, after decades of trying, I completed a college degree.
Ooh, wow.
Here, and how stepping out that was, because I had to humble myself. I got to, not had to. I got to humble myself in ways that I wouldn't have imagined. For instance, being tutored by an 18-year-old. I really got to acknowledge that they had something that I could use. And what it turned out is that I also had something that they could use. And so we got to
exchange.
It was almost like we got to exchange. Yes, we got to exchange and then create these kind of relationships, as well as me learning and allowing that support, that vulnerability when I'm trying to learn something new or changing a trajectory, because that was one of the goals, or complete something that's been in my heart for a while. So venturing out into that. So that's one that does stand out right now.
That's really beautiful. Congratulations, by the way. That's fantastic accomplishment.
Yes. I'm glad we could celebrate that with you, too. I'm so glad you shared that.
The other thing you're mentioning that Blaze and I have talked about is Because we are different ages, we bring different women to the circle. And it's been our intention to kind of break any myths or barriers that may have been accepted by us as women as it relates to older women and younger women. Because your comment reminds us that we agree that each has something for the other. And when we can be humble to that truth and make ourselves available to each other, it's beautiful, as you're telling us of your own experience.
Yes, it doesn't mean that I'm giving up, whether it's my wisdom, whether it's my seasoning, whether it's my knowledge, whether it's my intellect. Mm-hmm. It just means that I'm opening a door for something that I could use.
Beautiful.
To help me accomplish what I want to. And then as a result of having that experience, one of my recruiting things, so to speak, with other students is supporting them strongly, advocating for them to get tutoring.
Nice.
Which is, yeah.
Well, that's very much what Blaise was saying here about this idea of mentoring, as you're mentioning with tutoring. Get help. See yourself worthy as, worthy enough to get some help.
Yes.
So that's beautiful. Well, Macon, when you come into town, we expect a phone call. We'll go grab tea or coffee or something together, okay?
The answer is yes. When I'm in town next time, I will have more time. I will absolutely commit. So that was why it came up on the radio. Okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to put this in my internet so that I can pull it up and listen to your show. And now that I know that you have a podcast, Blaise, Bill, I can tap into that as well.
Wonderful.
That would be great.
All right. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate that. And so let's pick up on this a little bit. What can you share with me about your generation of women? How they may be, how they're different from their mothers, which is always what we want, right?
Sure.
And maybe even some of the struggles or burdens you carry.
Yeah, I'm not sure I feel equipped to share for all women that are my age, but, what was really beautiful was at our first gathering, my mother attended.
Yes, she did.
And, we really did have that intention going into this to have women of all ages so that we could all be learning from each other. And I feel like often you go into different types of groups and it's a very specific demographic, and we really didn't want that. And so that I felt really excited that each of our gatherings have had young women with young children, older women experiencing a completely different stage of life. And even in the moments of mingling, like before and after the gathering, seeing all those women connecting and what they could offer each other has been really, really beautiful. Because, definitely my mom has gone through things that were not a reality for me. And same for her mom. And, we all have that generational changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What do you feel like with that?
I feel inspired to be in the presence of younger women like yourself, because I have always had a passion for women and our development and our authentic living and the incorporation of our power that our ancestors have passed down from us.
Yes.
So I've always enjoyed being with women, for sure. Let's take this call. Hi, thanks for calling KONR.
Hi. I actually am a KONR person, too. I do the Diva Blue Show.
Oh, who's this?
Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle. Thanks for calling.
I'm calling because your previous caller mentioned she graduated college last year, and so did I. And this whole last year has been a huge transition of going from pushing to get a degree that I really intended to get 40 years ago to now. And trying to figure out what this means to the rest of my life. And it's all happening at a time when everything's changing. I'm an audio professional. I do production work and mostly preservation work with museums and stuff. And they've all gotten their grants canceled. So those few technical people who can do work with sound in town are all kind of looking and wondering, what do we do now? And it's petrifying because I had intended to be an entrepreneur, to phase out of this, working for a company and doing it on a more personal scale on my own. But everything you're talking about, a lot of big feelings that go along with it, and it's all suddenly moving much faster than I expected it to. So it's like I've never quite gotten out of I'm still pushing for that thing that I was going for. And I'm wondering how you guys handle. Also, I'm really interested in the group that you guys are doing, and I'd like to be a part of it if I could. So
yeah,
those are my questions.
Yeah. Do you want to stay on the line with us a little bit so we can chat a little bit more about what you're bringing up?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Blaise, you want to, you can, by the way, you can go to CamilleConte.com right now to register for Wednesday's event. And once you register, then we send you all the pertinent information, but we like to keep some of it confidential from public eye, just as a courtesy. Yeah. So you can get that information there. Anybody else that's listening, CamilleConte.com. But yeah, go ahead, Blaise.
Yeah, well, hi, I'm Blaise. I really appreciate you just calling in today, having the vulnerability to share that some of the things you're going through aren't that easy. And also to celebrate that you did accomplish something really big. So congratulations. I mean, that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I also understand the frustration and confusion of what's next. And, is there room for all of us? And all of those, you're right. Just to validate, like lots of big feelings come up, just as a human, but especially if we're trying to make some changes. So for now, I just want to validate that, like, I totally get what you're going through, and that's a lot of big feelings.
And I think, Gabrielle, for me, I had to grieve what didn't happen.
Yes, definitely.
And I had to spend time allowing myself to process and discover and dialogue with myself if there were dreams and goals that I was still attached to for the wrong reasons. Not necessarily the wrong reasons, but for reasons that weren't allowing me to stay authentic to who I am becoming, right? And so, like, for me, a lot of my identity has been in my work as an MC and auctioneer. And one of the things that was really difficult for me this year was to really accept that has come to an organic pause, and that it's not something I want to spend more time aggressively pursuing, because even though I miss it, I am being called more into this new design for living, right? And that took time for me to reconcile between those two Camilles. That one had to really surrender in order for the other to have a chance to try something out, right? So I respect what you're sharing, and you're definitely going through things that are totally normal and natural with the accomplishment of this, because the mind goes, okay, now what? Like, the mind is always looking for something to make sense to it. Like, okay, you have this degree, now you have to do something with it. But of course, the heart has a whole nother narrative and interpretation of it. So for me, it's always about reconciling between the mind's idea of things and my heart's feeling about things,
Yeah, well, my heart's just not even in the game most of the time, because it's been, no, we have to keep pushing. And, things you were saying about, just take one step every day, accomplish something every day, even if it's tiny, and then celebrate it so that you have a reason to push tomorrow, really resonates with me, because, oh, goodness.
Yeah. Good.
Wonderful.
It's the only thing that's been effective in keeping me going. But then I have days like today where I simply have nothing left. And I ended up, leaving work early because I can't hear. I'm a sound engineer, and I just couldn't hear this morning. Not physically, it's the buzz in my brain from everything that's turning around was actually interfering with my ability to make those fine-tuning adjustments that you have to eliminate noise and whatever.
and sometimes in those moments, it's really important to listen to our body and allow yourself to rest. And maybe that's what the best thing you could do today.
Absolutely. We just talked about self-care last month in our women's group and how important it is to do exactly what you did today. Because really, in the old design model, that male energy of push through has caused tremendous burnout across the country collectively for women who literally, our brains aren't wired like that, you know? And as a result, in the old way, you would have kept pushing through. So good for you for not today. That's a huge step for yourself. I mean, that's beautiful. I'm really proud that you love yourself so much that you said, I have to go home. That's powerful.
Oh, thank you. I needed to hear that.
That's powerful. And let's hope to see each other on Wednesday, okay?
Yeah.
I hope so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. You know, that's a really powerful thing that she's talking about too, the pushing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
How do you reconcile that with what you're doing now? Or how do you be with it? You don't have to reconcile it, but
yeah, I think I'm still in the phase of figuring out how to balance that, because I feel pressure to just be working 24/7 to figuring everything out, but I'll get to a point where my brain is absolutely overloaded, my whole system, or I've worked so hard in a way that I'm not used to that then my whole body just like wants to lie down. So I don't know that I have advice on that yet. Hopefully, 6 months from now, I'll know how to kind of recalibrate or be structured with a little more balance. But right now, I am kind of in a pushing phase, to be honest, and but I feel the pain of it as well. So I'm trying to find those pockets of rest or really good routines so that my body is more supported, so I don't get so tired out, or whatever that is. But it's a process, 100%. You have to figure it out, but it's not something we always innately know from day one, especially if we've been in what you're talking about, a matrix of working for someone else in a way that might not be natural or the best for us.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I have learned about myself is as an ideas person, I am always there for the creation of it, right? My challenge often is the maintaining of it, the discipline of maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to give it away to somebody that doesn't exist, kind of like putting my car on a train that didn't exist. And I don't know if discipline comes naturally for you or your structures and systems create the discipline, but do you have any counsel on how someone like myself can better experience discipline on a daily basis to bring us to the place that we say to ourselves we want to be at?
Yeah. I have been thinking about discipline a lot lately, and one thing that's helped me is to really shift my mindset about discipline. I don't see it as something tough or painful. To me, discipline equals freedom. And discipline gives me a chance to be set up with the structure of my day, with the strength and healthiness of my body, so that I can actually create all these amazing things I want to in my life and for myself and my family and anyone else who wants that support. So me being disciplined with my day and my body is the freedom to be able to do those things. And without that, everything's going to be really slow.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to say it. So you're basically rewriting the definition and the narrative around discipline to be a means to the end.
Right.
Which for you is this freedom and lifestyle of working for yourself.
Yeah. And even back to self-care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's loving yourself enough to just support yourself so that you can do big things.
Doesn't it just feel so great to have heard her say that because both of us are audio people, so we understand that if you have noise in your head, you can't hear the noise.
I felt that.
I did too. And I just want to congratulate both Dawn and Gabrielle for really expressing today what it sounds like to be that authentic version of yourself. Because as women, and again, it could be true for men, but I'm not one, so I don't know. But as a woman, those kinds of decisions create alignment with our authentic self. And I just love that we're having this conversation today because it's helping me. I know it's helping you and those who are listening, that every choice, and that's why choosing that song I choose for your opening was so important, because this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make decisions that align us with the version of ourselves that we are now wanting to become.
Yes.
And so whereas in the past, we would have kept going and pushed through it, to say yes to yourself by saying no to that is everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I have had, I have a whip cracker inside me, you know, and I realized not too long ago, I'm really not having any fun at all. You know, and I'm kind of uncovering and peeling back the layers of what is this? You know, what would I have to believe for me to feel like I can't stop? You know, what would I have to believe to be so self-critical when it comes to the expression of my gifts and talents and the new design for living out in the world? You know, and that's a really great question to ask if you're trying to get to the core cause of something. I mean, be ready when you ask that question. Make sure you got a box of tissues and your journal nearby. But that's the kind of unpacking I would imagine you've done yourself.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of writing, a lot of planning, a lot of pivoting, a lot of patience. And I think, and I too feel like I've seen you put a lot of pressure on yourself to make things happen yesterday, you know? And so I think in general as well, like having some patience when we're creating things and putting them out in the world, to not get discouraged if something doesn't work on day one, because most things don't work on day one. That doesn't mean they're not an amazing thing that people want. To also have the courage to continue sharing and doing the things to get your work out into the world in a way that feels good to you and isn't you giving up. You know, I don't like to see anybody stop 5 minutes before the miracle.
Exactly. Well, on that note, share with us how people can contact you to follow up on it, your many services that you've talked about today.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to hear from people. You can go to blazebell.com, and that has all the different things that I'm offering and doing. And you can even just send me a note through the contact and it'll email me. I'm on social media at blazebellbliss. So I'm quite active on Instagram and Facebook. And I would love to connect with you all. Yeah.
Blaze, thank you so much for being who you are.
Thank you.
Thank you for your tremendous heart-centered service to our community. You're an important pillar in our community here, and it's just been a real treat to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you next week.